It's that time once again. Engines on, let's go. Welcome back to another weekly episode of The Whole Truth. My name is Wes, and it's my job to bring you relevant Star Citizen news every week in a concise format. So sit back and join me for episode number 33. With June coming to an end, it's beginning to heat up in Texas, and with that brings the June monthly report from CIG. The team has managed to make it to the 200,000 invitations mark for Arena Commander, and squadron battles are now included, although you don't have an option to join with friends just yet. This is still a massive accomplishment to know that 200,000 people actually have access to the DFM at this point. Way to go, CIG. The items up for improvement in version 0.9 are support for in-game custom key binding, configs, flight model stuff, additional ships, improvements to the HUD, and a lot of stuff they don't want to reveal yet. It's important to note that 4 versions of Arena Commander were released in June. I have experienced very few development teams devoted to such hard work at pleasing the fans and getting content to you as soon as humanly possible. So kudos to CIG for your hard work and loyalty to your backers. In Austin, the team is working on persistent universe and back-end server components for Arena Commander, as well as work on several ships nearing hangar release. The focus of the Austin team is on the persistent universe tools for star system creation, kits for constructing planet-side locations, and making the mission creation tool for quicker content creation. The design team is also working on the roadmap for the next year, with the economy as the primary focus. It's hinted at several times that there will be an exciting look at some new content shown at Gamescom, so keep your eyes peeled. Aaron Roberts at Foundry 42 updates us on their work, starting off with a mention of wandering around inside the Javelin destroyer. This month he promises a lot of focus on DFM, including new game modes, features, and fully operational ranking boards. The theme here also seems to be all about DFM and creation of toolsets to streamline things. Aaron mentions HUD creation for multi-crewed ships, as well as HUD visibility improvements and sound improvements. Squadron 42 mission design is underway, along with capital ship design and seat actions. I made a quick segment for Galactic Inquiry last week about seat actions and what they are, and I'll talk about that a bit later in the show. So stick around for that, as I believe it is some of the most interesting info we've seen in a while. The team went through the vertical slice mission and stated that there are a lot of problems to solve, but everyone seemed to love it. The Idris frigate got another feedback pass before PBR, and a few more escape pods have been added to accommodate a larger crew, and the docking system was also tweaked so that you can now be able to easily land a Constellation, Retaliator, or whatever right on top of the Idris, and then pass through the docking collar from your ship into the Idris. Most excellent to hear. At BHVR, Matthew says that the discount, business, and deluxe hangars are getting a nice revamp to be as detailed as the Asteroid hangar. They're simultaneously working on the MOBA glass as well as the next flare item, which is somehow related to dancing and will be released in July. The FPS team has been working on the space station environment, as well as first passes on effects like tracer rounds, muzzle flashes, and explosions. First pass of the concept HUD was finished as well. Design and feel was tweaked for handheld weapons, as well as implementation of lots of new features like a prone stance, energy recharge stations, HUDs, ammo variety, and some of these are actually in the game. Void Alpha is working on the Terra Prime planet-side location and mentions a few locales such as Edge of Oblivion Bar and the Military Police Building. Ticket kiosks, turnstiles, graffiti, and the monorail car were also mentioned. These monthly reports are a great way to give us a summary of what the team has been working on behind the scenes every month, and it's a good read if you feel like you might be a bit behind on the status of the game. Patch 12.4 was released for Arena Commander, and it included a ton of fixes, as well as the addition of control mappings for the G940 HOTUS, improved weapon fire sounds, whooshing noises, whizzing noises, and things.
No, the bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps.
As usual, I post links to everything I talk about down below in the info section, so be sure and check that out if you missed something that I say. Around the Verse, episode 4 is out, and the show is gradually making improvements to its presentation and format. It's good to see it coming along. Several important tidbits from the show included mention of the UK team developing a new game mode called New Horizons. We're not sure what that is yet. Also, character customization is in progress, including creating your own avatar, possibly using the tech from Warhorse the team making Kingdom Come Deliverance. The 890 jump concept art has been completed, and the Avenger is getting some work and will be in the hangar very soon. Cutlass variants are in progress as well as Constellation variants, and the team is working on the multiplayer rooms in the Constellation, such as the generator room and the cargo area. The team also mentioned work on ships that we do not know about yet. Exciting. The Persistent Universe already has 5 systems in progress, and seat actions were mentioned again for ships. Last but not least, programmer Mark Abent was interviewed this week on Around the Verse. No new info came out of that interview. With the tale of Sori Lyrax coming to an end, we start a new lore series on the site called Orbital Supermax. This one starts off with a bang as this maximum security prison is attacked. I'm not sure where this one's going quite yet, but I'll keep you updated once I have an opinion. We got an amazing Asteroid Hangar update video on July 4th. That is one of the new Inside CIG releases. This video is called The Art of the Asteroid Hangar, and it came with some beautiful footage. Let's just have a look at it. It looks amazing, and I can see why they're revamping the original hangars that we already have, because it's going to take a lot of work to bring those up to speed. In 10 for the chairman this week, Chris enlightens us on procedurally generated missions in the Persistent Universe. These missions will be based on what NPCs and players are doing that directly ties into what the economy needs and creates logical jobs. These could be escort missions, hauling missions, retrieval missions, and even bounty hunting missions. There will also be linear story-based missions, and players will be able to create jobs and missions for other players. This is such an amazing addition to the game. I foresee many job creations for our organization and others in the future. What a wonderful way to bring communities together in a productive fashion. Let's do some other news. This week in other news, we're going to go over some other news about Star Citizen. This spot was featured on Galactic Inquiry, so you may have already seen it. Take it away, Wes. This week in the news, CIG Mike Northeast, one of the devs, commented about how he envisions crew stations on multiplayer ships. In his description of exactly what a crew station is, he explains that in larger ships, players will have to rely on other players for certain information. The stations don't have specific names because they expect the player to be able to customize the station with numerous tasks and then assign a player or an NPC to that station. This means that a station will be able to have multiple functions on it, and these functions can be set on any station that's on the ship. This is going to allow you to customize your player's roles on your ship. Crew stations should also scale with the type of ship. A small, single-seater ship has very little space for a station, so it would be a more simplistic HUD-oriented station that allows you to do things like create weapon groups. Multi-role ships like the Constellation or the Freelancer would have a bit more complexity and allow you to set up stations for radar, weapon management, power, and so on. Capital ships like the Idris would add even more functionality like detailed power management systems that take into account the more complex nature of a huge capital ship and its systems. Mike Northeast then breaks it down even further by explaining a seat action. A seat action is a single task on a ship like weapons, radar monitoring, and helm control. The captain can then create roles, which are a group of seat actions, and then assign those roles to players or stations. For Crew Stations version 1, it's likely that seat actions will be locked to specific crew stations so that it can be delivered to us quicker. The roles functionality would be added on top of that. Mike Northeast goes on to talk about privileges as well. Privileges is a system where the captain of the ship can assign security levels for crewmen. This will allow us to add or refuse access to certain ship systems at our own discretion. The plan is to make this system persistent as well, so that when you log off and back on again, roles and privileges are saved for your crew. This is starting to sound very impressive. Imagine being out in space and disabling a ship and then boarding it. The captain's still alive somewhere on the ship, so you have to gain access to the ship's system somehow. You can do so by hacking the privileges systems at a station. This would give you access to the ship's navigation, then you could ransom it, steal it, whatever. It's definitely got me excited. So now that we have an idea of how the multiplayer aspect of the game is going to work, it makes it a little easier for us to envision how life on a ship is going to be in Star Citizen. This sounds like a brilliant design, and it's going to allow for maximum customization of your ship command stations and your crew's jobs. This is the #1 aspect of Star Citizen for me, multiplayer ships. If you haven't seen Galactic Inquiry yet, here's a link to the show. It's created and hosted by Michael Moreland, who you may know from the official show Wingman's Hangar that he produced for CIG. You can catch that show every Friday along with a news segment from myself in every episode. And this week, the r/Star Citizen thread of the week goes to Spoizen for his video that explores some of the assets in Star Citizen that you may not have seen yet. This stuff is way too cool to miss. Make sure you check out his thread and the video and let him know Whole Truth sent you. Thanks Spoizen for putting that video together for us. And that brings us to the end of another exciting week of Star Citizen. For those of you still watching this late into the video, thank you so much, and I have an update for you guys. As you may know, we have a baby due on July 30th, our first, and things are quite hectic for me right now. My goal is to keep putting these videos out every single week, along with the content I'm excited to be creating for Galactic Inquiry, and a lore video for Patreon supporters. I've only put the news out every other week for the past month, and that's just due to dealing with work away from YouTube and Twitch so that I can keep paying my bills. I greatly appreciate the support from everyone here, as the donations and support through Patreon and Twitch are what helps me be able to devote time to the show and other Star Citizen related projects. Being a stay-at-home dad is a dream come true for me, and I thank you guys so much for getting me ever closer to that. I'm confident that I'll make it, as we're kind of on the cusp of it right now, but we're not quite there. So thank you so much. We got over 9,000 subscribers on YouTube this last week, and that's pretty exciting. This week we'll see a huge Patreon update with new goals and rewards, as well as the first lore reading video posted directly to Patreon first for backers. This is an attempt to provide a better quality experience for you guys. Thanks again for all the love and support. I consider you guys a part of my real family. Until next week, engines powering down, offline.